Yeah. Nico, 2-1 win over Lincoln, magnificent victory, and another game a bit like last week where it probably took us to go 1-0 down to really get going.
Yeah, I think magnificent might be a bit strong.
Probably, yeah.
I think it's a really, really good win, and I think there were some really, really good things in part of the performance, but there's also a lot of stuff that we can get better at. It was almost tangible, the frustration in the first half. You know, us on the side, the players and the fans. I think we all felt that frustration where it wasn't quite clicking. We weren't getting into position quick enough to play the kind of football that we've played recently, and that resulted in a lot of hopeful long balls or a lot of backward passes. And you could tell the building frustration with all of us. You know, we don't want to be that team. We want controlled possession. We want to keep the ball on the floor and we want to break lines, but the whole purpose of that is to A, control it, and B, to work your way up the pitch to score goals. It's the most important thing in football, and it's the next step for us to become a very, very good team. And I think we've been really happy with the progression that we've seen over the last few games. We've been really happy with some of the stuff we're seeing out there, but the first half wasn't us, and I think we were all frustrated and fortunate that they kind of gifted us that goal. Brilliant that Noms was on his toes and ready to take it when it came, but a bizarre goal you're not going to see very often and you can't count on. So frustrating first half, had to make a few changes in terms of where players were playing. It got a little bit better, but I think really there was only a couple of the lads that played anywhere near their potential in that first half. Second half was better. Second half, by no means perfect, but certainly better. I think the finishers who came on made a big difference. I think they were ready, which is massive. You know, the other lads had kept us in the game. The starters had done their job, and the finishers came on and did exactly that. And that's the message we've been giving them the whole time that we've been in, is that every single player in that dressing room is important. And today is probably a good example of that.
I'm sure when you look back at Lincoln's opener, there'll be probably a few things that you talk about that could be better. I know Gary will probably be disappointed with how he was, but I think it was one of them. All it needed was one of our heads to take it away from goal, and obviously it was Lincoln that managed to
yeah, but I think you can go back before that. You know, we gave the corner away through silly play before it, where we didn't do what we've been trying to do, and it ends up with us giving a corner away. We didn't deal with that. We've dealt with the defensive set plays really well over quite a considerable time now. I thought there was a period in the season where we were a bit wobbly, and we've got that together. And in fairness, it didn't shake the lads too much. I thought they defended them after that well too. But you know, these things are going to happen. Woodsy's been excellent since he's been in. I mean, you know, testament to him, he's kept Jammer out of the team, and that's no easy feat. And that's just one of those things. You know, he's chosen to punch. It's not quite gone right, but there were other people that probably could have saved him, and it didn't quite happen. And the message from us is that mistakes are going to happen. We can cope and we can deal with that as long as everybody's on their toes to try and help out their mate. And in the grand scheme of things, they did that today, because we went 1-0 down and the lads have dug it out and ended up winning. So, you know, the number of mistakes that led to the goal, and even Al Hartridge getting sent off, that the rest of the boys have done the job to make sure that no harm, no foul.
We'll come on to Alex Hartridge in a second, but Gary didn't quite look himself the last few minutes of that first half, and I think it was an injury that meant Jamal came on in the second half. Yeah,
just something hamstring, so we'll see what that is. It's quite rare for a goalkeeper to do a hamstring. They don't normally sprint around enough to pull anything, but something's not quite right, and it's a shame for him because he's been excellent, not just on the pitch. You know, one of the things that he brings is a real character and a real influence off the pitch. You know, if you'd have watched Jamal Blackman training over these last 2 weeks, you'd have seen a man possessed. You know, it drives, iron sharpens iron, you drive each other to better things, and Jammer's training has been out of this world, but so has Gary's, and he's got the shirt and he's kept it, and it's unfortunate for him, but I thought brilliant that Jammer could come on after a few games out like that and just look so assured, so calm. That first cross that he came to take just gives everybody that feeling of, yeah, all right, we're okay here, and I thought he marshalled the back line well.
Two key players in Harry Kite and Kevin McDonald unavailable for selection. I think it was a hamstring for Harry Kite as well, and then something that Kevin did in training yesterday.
Yeah, Kev got through all of training yesterday, and then as we went in after thinking we're all done for the week, we got told that something wasn't quite right and he's not going to be available. And it's harsh being a physio, having to break that news when we thought that everything was good. It's a shame for Kev, because I think everybody will say how well he's done since he's been in. He's had a real influence on the group, and I think today it would have probably shown even more, because he'd have been able to calm us down and start to dictate tempo a little bit. Because I thought in fairness to Lincoln, I thought they pressed us really well. They made it difficult for us to do what we were trying to do, but we've got to be good enough to do that, and we've got to be brave enough to know that teams aren't going to come here and let us do what we want. They're going to come and find ways of stopping us, and I thought Lincoln did that in the first half really well, and we managed to find a way through it in the second. But I'm hopeful Kev's not going to be out too long. Kitey's been out running today, so he's within maybe 5 to 7 days of being back as well. So nothing major, but we are coming towards the end of a long season where these lads have put in a lot of miles. We're not a massive squad. They train really hard. We know that we've got to push them in training, and with that sometimes comes little niggles and little injuries, but good players, big players. It's up to the next guys to step up, and we managed to do it today.
You spoke about Jamal Blackman being a man possessed. I think Dimitri Mitchell, what a game he had, and set up that second goal, which Sam took beautifully.
Yeah, I think the second goal epitomises what we are trying to do. As lucky as what the first goal was, the second goal was outstanding. It was simple 1 and 2 touch play, through lines, finding the spare man, sliding the ball down the side for somebody like Noms, who he'll gobble up anything he gets in that kind of situation. He puts their defender on the floor, for a PG way of saying it, and that's just incredible strength and determination and will to want to go and score. And then it wasn't just his finish that we were happy with. If you pause the video, as the ball hits the back of the net, we've got 5 lads steaming into the box to go and get something. So if that gets saved, or if it comes off a post, we're probably scoring anyway, and that's a massive step in the right direction. Because if we showed you video of some of the games 4 or 5 weeks ago when we weren't scoring, there weren't enough people in those areas to get those kind of goals. So really, really pleased with the build-up, really pleased with the finish, and really pleased that other players were there ready if it didn't quite go right.
Just quickly on Alex Hartridge, he'll obviously be disappointed himself. I think it was a frustration in the end for that second yellow card, and I probably can't really have any complaints.
Yeah, it's the harsh reality. Once you're on a yellow, if you do something a little bit silly, it's a tough one, because when you're the last man and you're trying to play, if you're a little bit slow and you get caught out, any foul probably will be a booking. It's just the nature of the game. If it had done that in the opposition box, it's just a foul and he walks away. But we can't really complain with that booking. I think there was 1 or 2 for both teams that were maybe a little bit harsh today, but with that one, he's got to know better, and I'm sure that he'll learn from the experience. But again, the lads dug him out of that hole. The Groundsy came on ready, JC came on ready, and we saw the game out with no major stress, albeit I think we're quite stressful to watch at times.
I think that's what you said to me on the pitch at the end, wasn't it? That's 7 points from 9 now, 2 home wins in a row. That's sort of an excellent building block for this final run-in of the season. Yeah,
I know that the fans get frustrated when we talk like this, but it really is just one game at a time. It's very much a case of we're on to Cheltenham now. The reason being, we can't affect April, we can't affect the end of the season, we can't affect how many points we're going to be on, but we can affect what we do in our recovery tomorrow, in our analysis as coaches, in how we set up training next week, in what we eat, in how we prepare, and we can get ready for Cheltenham the best we can. So while that's in our grasp and while we're in control of it, it's all we need to worry about, and the points will accumulate themselves from there, and we'll hopefully get better and continue to progress. And from there, I think we've already seen those progressions and the improvements. I think that hopefully the fans in the coming weeks will see more, but that has to start at Cheltenham.